I'm going to start off by asking, how does your city play? And I'm asking that because I want to get into a discussion about the very, very human side of cities and city building. You know, great cities are more than just places where we find shelter and get our basic needs met. In a book I co-wrote with Scott Higgins called The Joy Experiments, we referred to cities as the habitat of the human spirit, which is that source of compassion and collaboration that we so badly need in these times. And like the habitats in nature, the habitat of the human spirit, our cities, are interconnected activities. And that interconnectedness is what gives them their strength. And so if we want to make change that's meaningful and lasting in our cities, we have to work not in silos, but understanding that that building we may be building over there somehow connects to our ability to be happy and collaborative over here. Or that the fact that we're not happy and we hate collaborating might stop that building from ever getting built. That's why I want to come back to and dig into the human side of things and talk about how does your city play. Now that's really, the word play is really, I could change it and say, how does your city act like a community? How does your city connect citizens in a meaningful way so that strangers can become friends? How does your city celebrate its uniqueness and in a way that gives citizens optimistic language and an optimistic vision to share amongst themselves? And how does your city foster trust between its citizens? These are the measures of what something I refer to as our societal resilience. Our ability to come together, unite, and work through changes and adapt. Now here's a news flash. Our societal resilience in our cities and our nations is very, very weak. I'm sure you can all feel that, and all you have to do is turn on the news and you get the picture. And I don't need to elaborate further on that. It seems like every issue that comes up turns into an argument, an us versus them, winner take all type of situation. Even masks during the pandemic became a symbol of disagreement. We're unhappy and we're scared. But the worst part of having a very weak societal resilience is it's getting in the way of society's ability to deal with the very, very complex issues that are facing us. Everything from climate change to a housing crisis. If we can't collaborate and unite, we're never going to be able to tackle those issues. So at a time when we're having discussions, wonderful discussions like tonight, where we're talking about how do we build cities differently? How do we become more inventive? How do we adapt and change things? While we're doing that, I think we have to start asking ourselves, what type of community do we want to become in the future in order to thrive? What type of community do we want to become in the future in order to thrive? It's a we question, it's not an I question. We need to be able to figure out how to articulate that just like we articulate every other city building goal and objective we have. And then we have to start to figure out how to create the social infrastructure to help us become that type of community that will thrive in the future. Since the 1970s, we've been slowly stripping away the social infrastructure that brought us together and built community bonds. We no longer have corner stores. We don't join clubs like we used to. We don't go to hang out in pool halls. We don't go to church to the points that we did before. And our downtown cores are becoming less and less vibrant. We have to consciously start building social infrastructure along with our traditional city infrastructure. And the reason we have to do that because it is in cities where we will start to heal the divisions in our society. We are not going to heal the divisions in our society from national mandates. Something from Davos, Switzerland is not going to come and explain to us how to heal. It's going to start in cities. We will heal ourselves by starting to build social infrastructure again in cities. And we will heal by what we do on the streets of our cities. And I think it's important to note that we will change the world by how we change cities. I've been using the word play, and there's two reasons why I've used the word play. First of all, play is the most complex social thing we do as humans. When you think about it, play. Play is how we learn to collaborate and to see that our differences are actually an asset if we're playing on a team. Play is where we learn to celebrate as a group. Play is where we learn compassion for someone we're trying to interact with. Play is also where we develop curiosity and we learn how to become creative on the fly. Play is really important, especially considering the way we are living in our society right now. The second reason why I use the word play is because it's part of our city building language right now. Live, work, play has been the model and the priority that we've been building and designing cities for a long, long time. Those three attributes have sort of defined the relationship between cities and citizens. We've assumed that those are the things that citizens are looking for when they figure out where they want to go and live. But as we've been hearing tonight, a lot of that is changing. The models are changing. Live primarily meant a certain volume of housing to be able to have selection of. It also meant reasonable chance of ownership. But it's really hard for a city to hang its hat on live in that definition these days. In fact, it's pretty much impossible for almost every city in North America to do that. And the relationship between live and work is becoming tenuous. More and more people are working remotely in one form or another, and many of them now have a completely different criteria for what they want out of where they live than they would have before. And some people quite simply can't afford to live near where they work. So they're pushed out to suburbs or to communities that are completely, separate from the city they work in. And in that instance, the act of work and the act of live are happening in two completely different geographies. Now in that context, play, the thing that was at the end of the priority list, that was never really clearly defined and was actually funded with money left over, takes on some new meaning. And it's not just that, hey, maybe we should be focusing on connecting citizens under the bucket of play because it's nice for people. Play is now the opportunity for cities, the opportunity to stand out, the opportunity to be more relevant, the opportunity to create a healthier environment for its citizens. it's the opportunity that, from a marketing perspective, any business would sort of say, oh my God, this is what we have to sort of focus on. Play is the opportunity for us. Because cities that play, well, people want to live in cities that play more so than any of the other factors. Cities that play make inclusion and belonging tangible because they build environments for play. And cities that play have a way of connecting the concept of a community to geography, because they are looking at public spaces as places of creating congregations of people that interact with each other. And through public play, actually start discovering that even though you don't look like me, we're having kind of fun together. Well, that's a whole new step. This is a big opportunity for cities. And cities that play, they build these spaces that, you know, when our nation wins a gold medal in something, we just all know we go there to celebrate. No one has to tell us. We just go. Because we have been in that space, that public space, time and again, as a congregation, interacting with each other, getting tricked into sort of playing games, and finding joy in those spaces. And those are also the places we go to when we need to mourn as a community, when we need to support each other, and we know we need to sort of go to those places. These are the spaces in which people can feel emotional ownership of their city, regardless of their financial situations. They get emotional ownership. They can point to those places and say, those are the spots where we are seen, where we are heard, and we are accepted. I'm kind of talking about collective joy. Places that give us collective joy. And I'm not talking about joy in terms of it's a reward for people who have great lives. They got great lives and I'm happy, I'm joyful. No, I'm talking about joy as a tool of resilience to help us to get to a better life. Let me give you an example of that. I wrote the book, The Joy Experiments. And, I once told friends, hey, I wrote a book. And they said, yeah, what's it about? I said, it's about joy. And they go, you? yeah, I wrote a book about joy. You wrote a book about joy. So, joy doesn't come naturally to me. But I'm the most optimistic pessimist around. Mm-hmm. I'm so pessimistic that I think something really has to be done to make the world better. Okay, on to my example. That was a segue. My example is, people will say, Paul, joy, great idea, but clearly we have to meet the basic needs of people before they can appreciate and absorb joy. There is a hierarchy of need, after all. And I push back on that. And here's how I push back. According to the hierarchy of need, Southern gospel music, the most joyful sound I know that can only be created by a group of people coming together and expressing themselves, should never have been created in an environment of poverty, slavery, and violence. It should never have happened according to the hierarchy of need. But it did. And not only did it, it became a key tool for that community to develop the resilience, to carry on, to overcome, and to thrive. Joy is practical. And I think we should go back to the live, work, play model and change it. We should change it to play plus live plus work equals great and joyful cities that thrive. Joy is a practical city building goal because humans need it. Because that is where we get our resilience to move forward. That's where we get our resilience to come together, to start solving problems like climate change, like our housing challenges. So as you leave tonight and you're thinking about cities and you're thinking about all the things that you've heard, I just want you to think about a few other things, because everything else you've heard is very, very important as well. But to maybe put some context to it and to put some inspiration to it. Think of cities as the habitat of the human spirit. Think how cities should prioritize connecting citizens to each other so that strangers can become friends. And think of the role cities have in strengthening our societal resilience through collective joy. Thank you very much, and go and build joyful cities.